Welcome to the Bianca Williams Podcast. If this is your first time, thank you for joining. Thank you if you've been here before. Definitely subscribe because we have a bunch of just goodies in this podcast. There's a lot of self-growth tips. We also have guests that are sharing their stories, sharing their wisdom, just so much. And so we appreciate you being here. And we also want your feedback. So as you get into this story today, do not hesitate to come back and share just your takeaways, things that stood out to you. Now, today's guest is phenomenal. We have an educator, a Black man educator, and if you don't know, that is rare. We do not have a whole lot of Black men educators in the world. I think it's slightly over 1% in the country right now. So I feel like we have a treasure. So thank you so much for joining us. Our guest today is Jimmy Day. Jimmy is a teacher in Colorado. He actually does a lot of things, and I kind of want to let you tell us what you do and just some of the things that's coming up because I feel like I can't keep up. There's so much and it's happening really fast.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Bianca. But yeah, I'm Jimmy Day. I am the 2023 Colorado Teacher of the Year. I teach in the Aurora Public School District. I am a new teacher at Charles Burrell School of the Arts now. So I will be teaching K through 8 instrumental music. So I'm very excited about that. I'm stepping into the world of elementary. So that is going to be an exciting path to go down because I've been strictly middle school for the past 15 years. Currently serve on the music advisory team for the district. I've also been a new teacher mentor for the district, and now I'm stepping into a new role, which is the K-8 music teacher for the district, in addition to me teaching. So a lot of stuff coming up, and I'm just ready to experience it and jump in and just ready to roll.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh. So it sounds like there's been just a lot of opportunities, a lot of growth in your life and your career. And we are excited to see what the talented Jimmy Day has to offer the world, starting with the Colorado School District in Aurora. But your journey is music, one of my favorite topics, one of the things that I feel like is just an organic part of my growth, my development at such an early age. And you have a very interesting story with your musical journey. Would you please tell us what inspired your love for music and how you began your musical career?
So, the two things that really inspired my music: the band culture in the 80s in Detroit. I'm gonna talk about that for a minute before I get to my other inspiration. But I remember when it was mid 80s, I had to been about 5 years old. And some things you don't remember that young because everything is just kind of a blur, but there's some things that just really stick out. And this moment really stuck out. I remember being in the house and we heard this loud booming sound, and it was getting louder and louder. It was getting closer and closer and closer to the house. And we were like, what is that? So we went to the kitchen window. I remember looking out the kitchen window, and from afar, we saw this band marching down the street. Didn't know what band it was. Just saw this march band, saw these flags pumping in the air. We was like, who is that? So thankfully, fortunately, marched across the big street. We was behind this big street called Grand River. They marched across the big street, and then they came down our side street. And luckily, our house was on the corner. So I was able to stand out there and get like a front row seat when they came down our side street. And I was just remember being so in awe. The folks just wailing on the horns and the drums just banging and like I said, the flags just pumping, and you just felt this energy as they was marching down the street. And I mean, I just watched them until I couldn't see them anymore when they marched in the distance. And that moment, I was like, man, this looked like something I want to do. And I can remember from then, me and my friends at the time, Muriel Young, would march down the sidewalk like we were in the marching band and stuff like that. So it was like that was something I really had to be a part of. So that really ignited. And then on top of that, my church was on Broad Street. And, we used to have this parade in the spring, Broad Street parade, where almost every band in the city, middle school, high school, yes, and and my church was on Broad Street, so my church was always participating in the parade. So I got to just be in all of that culture, and they would march all the way over there to I think by Central High School, and they just had this battle of the bands, and they just so intense and just, I mean, it was so fun to be a part of. And that like just really really amped it up. And so my second my second inspiration was my god brother. My god brother is a percussionist.
Mm-hmm.
He played drum set for church and he played percussion in high school. He got to that point, but at this time he was just playing drums in church. And I used to be in awe just watching him, just this rhythmic thing he used to just do on the drums. He used to just really, I would just sit there and just stare at him. And I think it really added more because I went to a missionary Baptist church, so we didn't have drums. It was either a piano or organ. So those times we have revivals and they allow him to play on the drums. I was all in. I was all in. I mean, I remember asking him for a pair of drumsticks, as I know his dad gave me a pair of his old drumsticks. And so I took it home. He was like, "Yeah, you need to just practice on the phone book." So I used to go home and practice on the phone book and drive my mama crazy. But those was my inspiration. It was like I have to get in this some kind of way. I have to figure this out. So fast forward many years later, I'm in the fifth grade, and the middle school band director will come up because I went to a K-8 school. And so the middle school band director will come up and he'll come to the fifth grade classes to recruit so he can get us started so we can just transition to sixth grade band once we, leave the fifth grade and go to sixth grade. And I remember going down there maybe like it was like twice a week. And it happened during like advisory period or like the homeroom period, like those little 30 minutes where we come to school and getting settled and getting ready for the day. So we would go like maybe like twice a day and we'll go for like 30, 40 minutes and go down there and learn some stuff on the instrument. And I remember going down there and I didn't have an instrument to play because, of course, my mom at the time, she couldn't afford it. We was going to all these pawn shops and stuff, and they was just giving us these super expensive prices. I remember I wanted to play saxophone. Saxophone was too expensive. I wanted to play trumpet. Trumpet was too expensive. So my mom was like, I don't know. I don't know. So I just went, and I remember going to the little orientation, and we introduced ourselves to him, and he introduced himself to us, and he asked us what instrument we were playing, and I was like, I don't have an instrument. And so he was like, follow me. And I remember going into the back in that room and going to this storage room with all these shelves from the floor to the ceiling. And he reached up and grabbed this big old weird looking case and put it on the floor in front of me and opened it up. And then he took it out and he put it in my hands. He said, and I'm like, what instrument is this? I've never seen this instrument before. He was like, you're going to play the baritone. I said, okay, fine. That's what we do. If that's what I got to do. Look, if he would have gave me a whistle, a triangle, a kazoo, I would have played it because I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to be in the band. Whatever you want me to play, I'm going to play it. I am at your service. You know what I'm saying? And so I ended up taking that instrument when I put that instrument in my hands, and that first sound I made in that horn just laid down the path of what my music journey was going to be. So I finished the year there at Noble, and my mom took me out and put me at Ann Arbor Trail Middle School because they had a good band program and it was a magnet school. I didn't want to leave because all my friends were at Noble, but I'm glad she did that because now the childhood dream came true because now I was able to march in a marching band at Ann Arbor Trail Middle School. And so I marched there from sixth grade through the eighth grade, auditioned, ended up going to Cass Technical High School and I was an avocational music major, and I was in a lot of the ensembles. I was in a symphonic band. I was in concert band. I was in jazz band. I even sung. I was in the madrigals and men's glee. And, I was in symphony orchestras. I was just engulfing all this music. My whole music journey was just really just taking off. And then eventually I auditioned and got a scholarship to go to Tennessee State University to be in the aristocratic bands, fellow crat right here, be in the aristocratic bands, was, section leader and, all that stuff, and was able to be in concert band and wind ensemble. I was able to be in a tuba quartet, the tuba ensemble, brass ensemble, pant band. So I lived it up. I lived it up on my music journey. So everything from that first moment when Mr. Hubbard, that was his name at Noble, as soon as he put that baritone in my hand, that was it. Rest is history.
Wow, Emmy, oh my gosh, that is such a powerful story. I did not know you got exposed to the band so young. And your inspirations are both really personal inspirations because you saw it. You were like, oh my gosh, right? Like, I can reach out and touch you. I see
You're
an
right.
actual family member playing the drums. I think that is so cool. And having things that inspire you at a young age is kind of magical, especially really young, because it's almost like it sits in a part of your brain development that doesn't go away. And so
Hmm.
there's an organic, kind of love for that stays with you, and you followed that dream, and
Oh yeah.
it's just continued to give back. It sounds like it's like, something sparked, and I'm glad, I did not ignore that, and it's continued to blossom for you. So much, so much, so many wonderful things came from that, and then
Yeah.
being open to whatever that musical journey, wherever it
Yeah.
led to, whatever the opportunities were, because being a part of so many different ensembles, getting exposed to different kind of music, I'm sure there was just a lot of lessons, a lot of context and insight that came from that. And so, cause yeah, I totally can relate to being in several different ensembles, but each one being a different environment, being a different learning
Hmm.
opportunity. Can you share a pivotal moment that significantly impacted your musical journey?
Yeah. This pivotal moment, I'm gonna start like this. This pivotal moment is the reason why I'm such a good band leader now. And this happened my sophomore year at Cass. Sophomore year of high school, like I said, been in the band up until that point. And in the band, it's all about I gotta sound good or I gotta sound good with the person next to me. And that's basically as far as it went, right? You're young, a musician, a budding musician. Sometimes it's all about me, 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 and I gotta make sure I sound the best in the room. But
Wow.
this pivotal moment allowed me to just expand my view and expand my horizons about being in a band. And it allowed me to add an extra layer onto my musicianship. And so what happened was, it was one morning I was getting ready for concert band and
Mhm.
I was warming up like you normally coming in, warming up, getting myself together. And normally, the band director comes in and the band director name is Ms. Allen. She came in and she would give some announcements and then we'll warm up.
Mhm.
Some days she'll warm the band up, other days she will have students come warm the band up. So at this point, I've never been in front of an ensemble before. I've just been known to, I've been used to just sitting in my seat and playing along with the band.
Right.
And it was one day, she called me up there to direct or take the band through the warm up. So
Nice.
nervous and like reluctant, I went up there and it was such a bang up job. It was awful.
Not
I
awful.
did so bad. I did so bad because I had no clue. And it's
Right.
so funny because being on the other side of the podium as an instrumentalist, you're playing and you're trained to watch the conductor, watch
Mhm.
for the cues. You know what I'm saying? Watch for the cutoff. Watch me, watch me. We do that, but we never really understand the nuances behind standing on the podium and how to lead. And
Yeah.
sometimes you know, we we don't understand that part.
Mhm.
And I get up there and I'm like, oh, it wasn't as easy as I thought it was. And so, like I said, it was, man, it was rough. It was a rough time. But thankfully, like she gave me feedback. And then, of course, she allowed some of the students to give me feedback. And so I took it and I stored it in my memory. And as time went on, as she continued to do this day after day, I would watch her. I would watch the students that would get up there and run the warm ups and listen to the feedback she gave them and think about what I would have done in this. So I started kind of like really. It was funny because if you something you fail at something the first time, normally somebody is be scared away from it. But
Mhm.
I was like, no, 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 no. So I don't know if that was me being stubborn, like, no, I ain't about to fail at this, or it was just me like, I'm so interested in this because it's something new. I don't know. I remember a few days or a few weeks went by. I can't remember what the timetable was, but I remember when she asked who wants to direct or who wants to run the warm up. I quickly volunteered. I do it. I ain't give
Mhm.
nobody a chance to think about it. And I was like, I do it. And she's like, okay, come on up. And I think she was kind of surprised herself though, So I went up there and nailed it. I nailed it. And I think that was probably one of my proudest moments being in the band because I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to understand the other side of the podium. You know what I'm saying? I'm starting to understand that now. So, everything that I studied and, listened to her about it and listened to the students when they get their feedback. I just internalized all that and went up there and did a good job. And you did a good job when there is no feedback to give you, only but keep doing it. And so I was like, okay, I think I'm on to something. I think I'm hooked. I done found a niche, right? And so I did it so good. The student teacher there at that time was like, oh, you did such a great job. And so hearing this just made me realize I may have something else. I may have something else to offer outside of just playing my instrument in an ensemble. And long story short, as my years went on in CAS, just putting in these leadership positions. I remember I used to, especially my senior year, I was drum major at the time, so I was leading that ensemble. The department head, Mr. Pruitt, he saw me warming the band up one day when I graduated up to symphonic band. And so he saw me warming the band up because I know him being a department head, he's in these faculty meetings. So it will cause him to come to class late sometimes because his faculty meetings may run over. And so that means that's like 5-10 minutes loss of rehearsal. And so one day I just said, well, let me just get up and go run rehearsal. So I found he used to have this little buggy with all the warm ups and the music in it and his baton and all that stuff. So I used to grab his cart and take it to the podium, and I would just warm the band up, and I would just warm him up until he get there. I never asked him; I just did it, and he saw me, and that was basically my job for the rest of my senior year. It'll be one day, hey, Jimmy, I'm going to be late, so I need you to run the band through the warm-up, and I need you to run the band through this song, this song, this song. Jimmy, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, so I need you to rehearse the band through this. Like, I kind of, helped them out because they didn't have to find us up. You had a student leader in there who was willing to get in front of that and get his feet wet and figure stuff out. It was one time when I was out of symphonic band, and I know Miss Allen, she was still over concert band. She was absent. Called me in there. Yeah, I was supposed to be in my first period class, but I was like, I do it. I was like, I do it. Like, I want to do it. So I went and ran concert band through their practice and got them rehearsed and stuff like that. So I really honed into that. He was showing me off to the college recruiters that would come through. Like, yeah, look at my student leader, taking the band through the warm up and taking them through practice. And yes, I wasn't perfect at it, but it was a good learning opportunity for me to figure out how to do this, how to really develop this other layer that I have that I'm trying to, feed into and build on. And I think and just going to Tennessee State, when I became a music major and taking these conducting classes under Dr. McDonald and, under Dean Sexton and all this stuff, all it did was refine what I already knew, and which was able to allow me to be a good conductor or a good band leader that I am today. So I owe that all to Miss Allen on that day, my sophomore year. It was fall. It was a fall day. I remember we were in the fall because it was pretty cold outside. Because I remember wearing my Hampton University sweatshirt. I remember that clearly. So yeah, that was the time that it just, and I was like, okay, I see what I'm doing now.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that is so impressive. I just felt like I just learned a
Thank
lot
you.
about you that I didn't even know. Like I didn't know you were a drum major, all of this stuff. So that's super cool. And I also appreciate your honesty. Like you were like, I did not get it right the first time I went in there and it was definitely a bomb. But I feel like there's a deeper lesson in that because that was probably scary, right? Like you had an experience that was not, ideal, right? We don't want to fail. But you stood up
Right.
to that. You said, I'm gonna face this fear, I'm gonna accept this feedback, and I am gonna look at this as an opportunity to grow and I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to, take
Mm-hmm.
on more opportunities until I refine these skills. And shout out to Miss
Yes.
Allen and Mr. Pruitt because they really kind of put you in that position to begin. I feel like begin your musical educator journey. By just
Yes.
saying, "Hey, lead this and run this
Mm-hmm.
class." I had no idea you were running whole classes. So wow. And then also shout out to your college professors, Dr. McDonald, Mr. Sexton, all of them. They helped you refine that skill. Because I feel like you practice it, and then you kind of now, okay, I'm getting technique. I'm getting
Right.
I'm getting those hidden meaning behind, like,
Yeah.
how do you do this? How do you make this, take this to the next
Right.
level? So, wow, that's that's amazing. It's almost like your path was laid out for you. All you have to do is just stay on the Overbrook Road.
And I didn't build off, but I found my way back home. But another
Interesting.
story
I
for
didn't know
another
that.
time.
So, I mean, come on, share with us because What, like, can you share a story about a memorable performance or a project that stands out to you?
Well, there's a lot of memories I have being in front of my students, but I know the one that sticks out the most was my first year I taught here in Colorado. When I first moved to Colorado and started in Aurora Public School District, I was at East Middle School. That was the school I taught for the past 7 years. So my first year there, I came into this spot of I just don't say negativity as
Mm-hmm.
far as dealing with the band program. You know, teachers and students are both telling me, hey, the band director was mean last year. He ain't do this, he ain't do that. The teacher saying, hey, he was at the brink of retirement, so he kind of like gave up. And then on top of that, the how the schedule was set up then, so it was hard for him to build a program and sustain a program with how the schedules was being set up. So, I've never had a conversation with the previous band director before I got there. It's just all hearsay, but it was basically all the same. It was just like he was basically at the end, he's basically just basically gave up, and kids didn't like being in the band, and boom, there you go. So the band haven't really done anything years before I got there. And so here I am coming in having to take this band program and do something with it. I mean, you talk about morale low, and then I was going into a situation. This was new for me, where you had students who were self-harming or stuff like that. So this was a whole different barrel of issues that I wasn't used to dealing with when I was teaching back in the South in Tennessee.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to that. So it was totally different when I came out to Colorado. And I just had to deal with that, the whole mentality of the I can't do it, I can't do it, so I ain't gonna try, I'm just gonna just shut down. Like I had to deal with a lot of that. So I had to do a lot of breaking down and rebuilding. Had to do a lot of disrupting and rebuilding, so we can change the mindset, so we can change, the mentality, so we can just change all of that, just boost the morale in that band room, right? And one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, 1 semester at a time, 1 quarter at a time, we build. We build, we taught, we structured, reinforced, all this. And so it came to this day. Here's the memory part. Came to this day. There was a district music festival that APS does every year. And so I was like, oh, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And so I educated them on what the district festival is. Something that's like our assessment. We get judged. You get judged by these scores. 1 is superior, 2 is excellent. Like I went through all of that, like giving them a background as to why it's important for us to really prepare well for this performance and do what we need to do. And so fast forward to the performance day after I worked them and worked them. Performance day, they got up on stage and they did a really good job. Let me back up a couple seconds. Before we went,
Mm-hmm.
they sent us the schedule, what band was going first, all that stuff. So I saw the schedule and I noticed, I looked all on the schedule, and at the very last slot, it was East Middle School Band. And I chuckled like, oh, we're going last.
Oh,
Okay, I got it.
okay.
That's good. That's good. And I messed with the students about this, and I don't know if this was the reason or not, but I sure made this up to get my students amped up. I said, they put us last. I said, y'all realize why they put us last? I said, y'all know why they put us last? It was like, I don't know. I said, because East hasn't done anything in years. Y'all told me this. The teachers told me this. So guess what? They all want to sit in their audience and see what y'all gonna do. They trying to see what this new East is about.
Yeah.
So we gonna get on the stage and we gonna show them. It's just like that. So let's give them a show if they want to sit. Not like I said, I don't know if that was the reason, but I told that to my students,
Mm-hmm.
and they got up on that stage, did a really good job.
Oh,
They did a really
wow.
good job. And at the end of it, like I said, we was the last band. So by the time we went to the back and packed up and stuff, everybody was gone. And I got the scores from the judges, and the judges, congratulated me and stuff like that. I sent the kids to the bus, didn't tell them anything. Said, all right, everybody, load the bus, got my stuff together. On my way out, and they put the scores in the hallway on this big old sticky paper thing. And I saw one by East Middle School. So I said, okay. But I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna react. I'm not saying anything.
Because they don't know what
They
they.
all load the bus. They all load the bus. And I get on the bus, and the first thing they ask me,
What we
what
get?
we get?
Yeah.
So I said, oh, let me take attendance. I took attendance, made sure everybody's on the bus. So I
Mhm.
said, okay, here you go, the moment of truth. So I pulled the first judge slip out and I read down all of the feedback. And I like reading the feedback from the judges because it's good feedback for one. And two, it's a I told you so moment to my students because they think Mr. Dave be fussing. It's like, no, I know what I'm talking about because the judge just said, good job for doing this and doing this, or we need more of this, this, and this, and that. And it'd be the exact same thing I'd be telling them. So that's like my I told you so moment too. And so I get all the way down, read the last comment, and then I hesitate. And I mean, they on the edge of their
Oh my
seats.
gosh. A
And
commercial
I was
break.
like, yeah, I could have said, all right, give me 5 minutes. I'll be back to tell you. I looked at them and I was like, you got a one. And the bus erupted. They erupted in applause. They high fiving each other. You saw folks with their phone out, like recording the reaction of, when I tell them the score. So, I mean, they were very happy. They were very happy. And so I had to kind of bust their bubble a little bit. I was like, oh, hold on, because we got another judge sheet to read now. And it was like, oh, no, it ain't over. We had two judges.
Yeah.
And so I did the same thing, pulled the second judge slip out, and I read it, and I read it, each line, all the feedback, and I got down to the bottom, and I looked at them again. I was like, you got a one. And they just erupted again. They just
Right.
erupted. They were so happy. Now, I've had many, many, many happy moments with all the students I've taught throughout my 15 years, but this was a different happy moment because now it's like all that low morale and stuff that I walked into, it was gone. It's gone. The kids have pride now. They saw their hard work pay off. Like that was the payoff right there. And they were like appreciative of like the practicing that they did. At that moment, Mr. Day wasn't a mean teacher no more who just want to just drill, drill, drill. No, Mr. Day was setting them up for success. Mr. Day knew it. He saw it and he just put them on that path. All of this stuff comes out. This is when Mr. Day, thank you for teaching us. Thank you for this thing. That's when I started to hear it. But like I say, it's the payoff. And another thing that stood out is that it put the district on notice. East Band is here. It put all those band
Yes.
directors and
Right.
orchestra directors on notice in that moment. I got so many emails congratulating me and telling me how well my students performed, how professional they acted and looked. And so it showed that no, East is here to stay. So y'all
Yeah.
better get ready for us because we're gonna be coming and we're gonna be blowing the roof off every year. So that was like my memorable, most memorable like performance that I've done with my students.
I really love this story. That was such a like inspiring story. One of my favorite movies is Sister Act 2, and I can't help but make this connection between your story and that, like you coming into this
Mm-hmm.
space that doesn't, really have the interest and the morale, and it's kind of there's different kind of struggles going on, and you're
Mm-hmm.
essentially building this from the ground up and having this dream success, outcome where, oh my
Right.
gosh, they didn't even know they could do it, and inspiring them similar to how you were inspired when you were younger to just kind of,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is a challenge, but we can work at this until we overcome this challenge, not give up, not
Right.
walk away from it. And then actually see the results, because I think that's
Right.
really important for people to see when they start to develop this idea that I can face my fears, I can face challenges, I could accomplish things that I didn't know was real, when you can actually see the outcome of, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, that was a magical story. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hope you guys are listening and taking notes. I also think it's unique to, like, you have a unique experience, going to a school like Cass Tech, being able to have that like childhood marching band experience, actually marching in the South where like the band culture is, I just feel like is magical down there, and
Mm-hmm.
bringing that to the West, right? It was almost like you guys don't know what's coming, but get
Yeah.
ready, right? Like it's about to be something really, really enjoyable. And you did not disappoint. So kudos to you, kudos to those students. I am super proud of y'all. I know that moment will last in their hearts forever. I feel like there are certain moments in childhood where you just kind of can go back to, and that's one of the moments that I hope they, always believe in themselves because of that.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you planting these seeds and you creating inspiration. What motivated
Hmm.
you to become a teacher, and how did you integrate your musical background into that?
All right. So going back to when you was like you got on the yellow brick road and they put you there, and I was like, yeah, and I got off, but
Uh
I
huh.
found my way back. Well, so like you said, they would set me up for these. I mean, these leaderships set me up for a career teaching, and all I had to do was follow the yellow brick road, but I didn't
Hmm.
because I wasn't planning on being a teacher when I graduated to college. I
Hmm.
wanted to be an architect. I wanted to go in a career that made money, but obviously you have to be good in math. And my math skills wasn't that strong there.
Yeah.
So my advisor was like, bro, look at how many math classes you are lacking. You might want to think about going in another direction. Hurt my heart, but I was like, I understand. So 3 majors later, because I changed my major to fashion merchandising. Not gonna even talk about that. That was I don't know. But 4th year at Tennessee State, I finally became a music major. Now I said 4th year. I didn't say senior year because you got to
Yeah.
have the credits to be called a senior. So
Yes.
I was in my 4th year, third major.
Hmm.
Made it back to music. My mom kept always saying, "Why don't you just major in music? This is what you're good at." I don't want to do it. I was being stubborn. Like I said, I got off that yellow brick road. And I remember it was a time where Prof told me, he said, if you drop out of school, I'm going to kick your butt.
Yeah.
Prof Graves told me that. He's like, you got so much you need to think about. You have a wife, you have a little son, because Jimmy was born, my oldest son, Jimmy was born at the time. So it's like, you got a lot to think about before you want to sit up here, drop out of school. So I sat there and figured out that, okay, well, I just need to be a music major. I need to do what I'm good at. And
Hmm.
so, like I said, my 4th year, I changed my major to music. It was just music. And I remember as I was going through my major, little on down the line, I was in a music education class, and we had to do practicums, and where we had to go and observe classes, look at the other teachers teach and take notes and come back and discuss it in class and stuff like that. So that's what I did. In some cases, the band directors will be asking you to work with their kid, get you a little one on one. So I used to enjoy that too, instead of just sitting there watching. But this one moment I went, and thankfully, this was one of the band directors that allowed me to work with their student. And the band director was a percussionist, and the student he was having an issue with was a trombonist. And so, since he knew my background was low brass, baritone, trombone, and tuba, he asked me like, "Hey, can you work with my student?" He's like, "I have tried everything. Like, he just can't get it. I don't know. Maybe it's something I'm missing, but can you please help him?"
Hmm.
And I was like, "Of course, sure." So he had a little practice room, and I took him in the practice room. I assessed the situation, and then I was like, "Okay, let's pull out your trombone chart, your slide chart." Come to find out, while he was playing those notes, I noticed the notes he were playing wrong.
Hmm.
He labeled them wrong. Something that simple. Rather, a note that was supposed to be in fourth position, he labeled it in sixth position. It was a note that's supposed to be in first position, he labeled it in third position. It was just something that simple. And so, like I said, I referred him to his trombone chart and taught him how to use his trombone chart, how to make sure he's labeling the notes right. Because if you're going to label them, and some middle school kids do that. Some do, some don't. They label their notes, some don't, because they can get it quick. But if you're going to label, just make sure you're labeling them right. And so I worked with him through that, and instantly he started playing the right notes. He started playing the right way. He got so excited that he was able to play, and I can imagine the frustration he was going through, and the band director, because that person that keep messing up, the band director have to keep stopping the band. And then the band have to keep starting over because that one kid is the reason why they have to keep stopping. So I know it's no fun being the kid in the band that keeps playing the wrong notes. So for us to be able to work that out, and for him to be like, get like quickly invested in it, because it was like So I do know how to do this, but it's just this little thing that he needed tweaking. And I mean, he was so happy. He was so happy. He was so proud that he was able to do it. And at that moment, that fired me up right there. Was like, I know exactly what I need to do. I know I need to be in front of some students. If I can impact this one kid in this 10 minutes that I was with them, I can imagine what I can do with a classroom of kids in the
Yeah.
years that I'm in front of them. In that moment, I was like, I know what my purpose is. I'm going to be a band director. This is it. I done found it. And so end up going to, once I graduated from Tennessee State with my music degree, I went to Trevecca and got my master's in arts and teaching. And then I started teaching in 2009, and the rest is history.
So glad you found your way back. The world needs needs your skills, needs your talent. There's an organic passion behind your work. I can hear it in just how you talk about it, and just some of these experiences, how they lit you up. I think that's amazing. You must know how to play trombone too, because you were like, I can see that this note is in the wrong position. Like you wrote that
Yeah.
down. Oh, cool. That's really good.
Yes.
So
Yes.
having multiple instruments experience and just kind of having, I don't know, like something with connecting with youth. I don't know if it's just about connecting with youth. I know like there's just something very special about that because you literally have a I don't know, a chapter in their book of life and their development. And so that's really cool. It's really cool that you get to touch so many people's lives and you have that,
Yeah.
you're motivated to do that. You're like,
Yeah.
I like being able to take a group of people and creating something that is collective and cool and
Yeah.
great. So, and music is
And
one of the best ways to do that.
it, yeah, and it's always my honor to do it too. I tell them all the time, it's my honor, it's my privilege to be able to work with you all and teach you all.
Yes. Yes. Are there some like unique strategies or approaches that you use to engage and inspire students? Because you had a whole time when you had to just kind of lift everybody up. It was no life there, and you like somehow illuminated that space. So, kind of share some of your strategies and techniques with that.
Sure. So the main thing I do is build relationships. That's one of the things that I do. And if, it's been proven, it's been researched, if the students don't like you or feel safe around you, they ain't gonna want to learn from you. You know what I'm saying? They don't trust you. So you have to like break those barriers, and you gotta get them to trust you. And the way you do that is you have to build relationships with your students, positive relationships with them. And there's a difference building relationships and being and trying to be your students' friends. Big difference.
Big
So
deal.
let's just make sure, because yes, you got a positive relationship, but your students still know your boundaries, right?
Yeah.
But what I do, the day one on my first day of school, what I do, and this is the students that I'm meeting for the first time, because my returning students know who Mr. Day is. It's all about just kind of relearning who Mr. Day is. But when you first meet me for the first time, I humanize myself to my students, right? And so I show this video after I do my whole formal introduction. I'm Mr. Day, I'm your band director for however long they with me. I show them a video that's probably like maybe like a minute, 5 seconds, minute, 10 seconds. But it's a very, very, very powerful minute because from the beginning of that video to the end, I am giving them a glimpse into who Mr. Day is outside of the classroom. Because for some reason, there's a rumor that, and I guess I don't know who told the students this, but they think teachers are not human. And so I have to humanize myself to my students and let them know I am a human. I am not a robot. I
You're
wasn't just
from the
standing here all night and then somebody came and hit an on button on the back of my shoulder and then I powered up and here I am. And then when you leave at 4 o'clock, somebody come back and hit the off button and I'm sleeping, recharging,
right.
what I'm saying, for the next day. So I have to like really, really like dismantle this misinformation that they may have about teachers. So before we do anything, they gotta know who Jimmy is, right?
Mhm.
They gotta know who I am outside the classroom. And so I do that on that video, introducing who my family is, showing who my wife is, showing who my boys are, showing my pet rabbit, talking about my hobbies, telling them where I'm from. Like I said, showing the family activities that we do. And then my video always ends, but my passion is teaching, and I'm so happy to be teaching you, this year or this semester. So, and once they watch the video, I kind of go back and I just kind of go more in depth with each slide, and just really introduce them. And so, in that moment, while they're watching that video, or while I'm talking about the slides that's on the video, we're making connections. Somebody may have a rabbit. Somebody may know somebody with a rabbit. Somebody may have a brother. They see I have two sons. Somebody may like wrestling. I have a picture of me and my sons holding our wrestling belts. I told them I'm a WWE fan, huge fan. So they might make that connection. They see me. I have one on there. I have a slide on there. Me ride my bike. They ride their bike. So it's all these little connections that they're going through. Some people might have moved to Colorado out of town. They see Mr. Dave from Colorado either. He moved here too, just like you. So it's just all these little connections that they're making. Now, do I connect with 100% of the class? No. But 100% of the class know Mr. Day is a human. They know he's a person. And I go more into it, and I show this video to let you know, and that's the name of my slide. I am human just like you.
Yeah.
And I go into explaining that, if I get angry, if I get irritated, I get angry just like you, right? If something is funny, I laugh just like you laugh, right? If I cut myself, I bleed just like you, right? If you cut yourself, right? When you leave this school, you go home to a family that loves you, right? Same thing with Mr. Day. I go home to a family too.
Yes.
So understand that Mr. Day is not at home trying to come up with some diabolical plan to make your life miserable. I have a life outside this room. I get paid to be Mr. Day because this is what I love to do. So I need them to kind of understand and know the difference between who I am in class, because I have to be that way. This is what my job entails versus who I am as a person. So I make sure before we talk about anything band, this is what we're talking about first. They got to know who is in front of them, teaching them. And that normally helps break the barriers down, because you got some folks, some kids at the end of class be like, yeah, I had this, I had that. And we have a little conversation. So already, is working in my favor. So building relationships, that's the one thing. Another way I build relationship, I fist bump my kids every day. And I tell them I tell them it's more than just saying hi. It's us making a nonverbal agreement. You're going to be the best student for me today. I'm going to be the best teacher for you today. That's what this fist bump means. And it's gone to a point where kids say, well, can we make up something? And we have a whole handshake off the fist bump. You know what I'm saying? So that, and then another way I build positive relationships is I try to connect their name to something positive. And as a teacher, we get into the whole mode of always discipline the kids. Stop this, stop that. Don't talk, don't run, don't do. We have to think ourselves out of that and start putting a positive spin on that. Johnny, I love how you play that note. Keep playing that and make sure you play the rest of the notes like that, because that sounds good. Hey, Jacob. Hey, I heard you in there practicing. Hey, you getting better. Even when you have those students that are difficult and like to be the high flyer, and you have to call their parents to kind of get them back in check.
Yeah.
And then they show that they changed. Before they walk out the door, I make sure I pull them. I saw it. Good job. I appreciate the way you acted today. Let's continue to do that, because you just showed me you know how to act. So let's continue to do that. I really do appreciate it. Give them a fist bump and send them on their way. And guess what? As they're walking to their next class, that's all that's ringing in their head, because that's the last positive thing that Mr. Day said to them. And they come back the next day excited, because now, you have a student that's going through the day and teachers fussing at them about something. But when one teacher can give them something positive, they're going to hold on to it. Yeah. They're going to hold on to it. And they're going to be very appreciative. They're not going to verbally say it, but they're showing in their actions. And so that's how I build the relationships. And then the other ways is I encourage teamwork. When they're learning, they got a lot of routines and procedures they have to learn in my class. So I always encourage teamwork. I encourage them to keep each other in check. I encourage them to help each other. If you see somebody doing something wrong, make sure you tell them right then and there, because it's better for you to catch the mistake than Mr. Day, because I'm going to make everybody do it again. So I put it back on them. And the way I do that is I encourage teamwork and make them like self-correct and keep each other in check. Another way is I set structures for learning. I mean, if there's no discipline, then there is no learning. So I have to make sure there is structure when they come in my classroom, from the moment they step in my classroom to the bell rings when the last kid walks out. It's routines, it's rules, it's do's and don'ts, it's a lot of things that they have to do. And the way I do it is I teach them how to act around me. And on top of that, we practice all this stuff. So there will be no reason for them to say, oh, well, I didn't know. No, we sat here and we ran through this like 3 or 4 times because Mr. Day believes in perfect practice. And so my structures, that is my cornerstone. If I don't have my structure, my students are not learning anything because it's going to be chaos. And when you teach them all these structures, it takes the guesswork out of how they need to act when they come in there, because they already know. They know what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, or why not to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they know everything. It's all broken down for them. And the last one is communication with the student and the parent. I try to make sure I keep my parents involved, whether if it's I'm talking about their student individually or I'm talking about all of their students as a whole. And we have this platform that we can send messages out to. And no matter what language, it's called Talking Points. So no matter what language they speak, it breaks that language barrier and I can still communicate with them.
Oh,
And so
really?
I'm always, yes, and it's so innovative. And I'm
Yeah.
always communicating with them so they know what's going on. They know when they little beginning band students first are allowed to take their instruments home. They know when they play their first note. They know my more advanced kids, they parents know, hey, when a performance is coming up, what they need. Like it's all communication. And on top of that, I'm always thanking them for their support. So I'm always, because if you don't hook the parents, you're not going to get the students. So
Yeah.
you got to hook those parents in. And so I make sure I keep an open door of communication between me and the parents and me and the students as well. So would I call it unique? Maybe. It's effective.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love the humanizing them and like one of the things I really like about having conversations in areas that, like you're talking about being an educator and connecting with people is the practical life skills that come with that you can also speak on. I always say I'm like everything in the world is based on relationships in some capacity. And so when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, like if people could just, take that and let that just sink in and sew it into their
Right.
brain, then a lot
Right.
of things that they think are problems don't have to be problems. And I really like your approach to humanizing and helping them see a new environment, right? Like this isn't we're on the same team, right? We both want the same thing. You want to be a good person. You want to be happy. I want you to be happy. I want you to be a good person too. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not just here to discipline you. So when I
Right.
see you making effort, I see you working hard, I'm going to let you know. And kids, I think adults even need to hear that because sometimes it feels like, well, am I doing the right thing? What's the point if I'm not hearing anything back? And it's kind of
Right.
reinforcing to let them know, like, hey, keep doing that because I see you, right? And
Right.
I'm proud of you. So I really like that. And then just also helping them learn things like discipline and structure and routine. And just how important that is to just being efficient, making progress over time, having a way to track that. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
super, super cool.
Thank you.
And you're speaking on this just from, just inspiring and engaging students, but you also you also have different qualities that you bring to the game. And so, can you speak on that for a minute? Just what do you believe are important qualities for teachers to have to be effective?
Well, like I said, building relationships, that's the main quality that you should have. Always having high expectations, always being consistent with the things that work. Don't be consistent if it's not working. No. So always being consistent with the things that work, being able to be flexible because no matter how much you plan and get stuff together, something's going to happen. And you're
Yes.
going to have to be flexible. So if you're rigid, you're going to drive yourself crazy. So you have to be flexible and you got to be able to just think on the spot, make a split second decisions. That's what teaching is, right? We come in with a plan. What Mike Tyson say, everybody got a plan to get punched in the mouth, right? So I mean, we go in there with this plan and pow, real life hits us, and it's like, okay, we got to make split decisions. We got to
Right.
figure this out. So you got to be flexible. We got to be flexible. Another one is having accountability. Students have to be held accountable for their actions. I take it a step further. Hold yourself accountable as the educator, as the instructor in that room. Because there's many times I've had to say, students, I just gave y'all the wrong information. I am so sorry. Or I might have been up late one night arranging something for my beginning band so they could play, or like modifying a part. And I made a mistake and might have put a wrong note in there. And we get to class and they're just playing this wrong note and this irritate me, like, what is going on? And then I go look at their music and I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. That is not supposed to be a G, not an A. I'm sorry, trumpets. Let me go ahead and say my bad. I'm sorry for fussing at y'all. I take everything back. So holding yourself accountable is a big thing too, because when they see the adult holding themselves accountable, then they're going to be, you know, okay with holding themselves accountable because they see the adult modeling that. And that's another thing. You got to be a good model. You have to model the expected behavior. You got to model that all the time. Like I said, a good communicator, you have to really communicate with your students. You got to let them know what they need to do, when they need to do, how to, like, you have to clearly communicate. You can't sit up here and assume that the students know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. They don't. Maybe a few of them do, but as a whole, no, they don't. Got to have a growth mindset. You have to have a growth mindset. So, yes, I've been teaching. I'm about to go into my 16th year of teaching, but guess what? There's still stuff I need to learn. Or there's probably better ways that I can have an approach to what I've been doing. So you always got to have a growth mindset. You got to have effective teaching strategies.
Yes.
You know, you got to make sure the kids can retain what they learn. So you got to have some effective teaching strategies laid out and ready to go. And hey, if it don't work, don't beat yourself up about it. Just go back to the drawing board, which leads me to my next one. Take it as a learning experience. Take your downfalls or take your back steps. Just take them as a learning experience. Go back, go to the drawing board, see what worked, see what didn't work, tweak what worked or tweak what didn't work, keep what worked. But if it's still not working, discard it and come up with something else, which leads me to the next one. You got to be reflective. You have to be reflective. And so a teacher that is not reflective, I'm scared to see what the inside of their class look like, because you have to be reflective, because there's always things that could have gone better, or there's always things that you didn't have to include, but you have to be reflective every time. Even on times I know I had a really good class, I still go back and I think about it. And that means if at the beginning of my planning period, I'm just sitting in silence and just running the whole day through my mind of, dang, well, what did go wrong? Right. How did I make that go right? Like, how did we have such a good day today? What did I do, or what didn't I do? And I'm just thinking about that because it's just some gems I'm gonna have to write down, just remember to remind myself what to do. So yes, being reflective. So those are my qualities, and I'm sure there's many more qualities, but those are the ones that I think if you have those qualities, you're a pretty set teacher.
Yeah, those are amazing qualities. These are things I teach in therapy all the time. The reflective journey, having the growth mindset, if you make a mistake, life is actually set up for you to make the mistakes and then learn. Just make sure you learn it along the way. You have said so many really good things. Being a role model, being a model in the things you're teaching. It's a lot of times, a lot of environments, a lot of areas in your life where you kind of can probably recite off what sounds good, but how many times do you see that happening? I know one of the things I hear a lot is companies saying, we want you to have this work-life balance, but then you see your supervisor never take time off, and they always seem stressed out, and they working extra hours, and it's just like, the company's saying this, but am I seeing this? And so being able to be an example of those things that you're saying. If I say something wrong, I'm going to apologize because that's what I'm telling y'all you should do, right? So I want to show you that. And just
Exactly.
being a well-rounded human being, I love that because I feel like sometimes when people hear be a model, then they think that means being perfect. And you're not
Right.
saying that. You're just saying, even in my mistakes or my not so proud moments, I am still going to do what I feel like is the appropriate thing to do. And sometimes I still may make a mistake, but I'm continuing to grow. And that's
Right.
really what I'm asking you to do as well. And so
Mhm.
I thought that was
Right.
super, super powerful as well. And being a teacher seems like encompasses several different things. It's not just about the information you're sharing
Right.
and the growth you're instilling, you're actually building up humans.
Right.
You're
Yes, exactly.
creating
Humans.
boats.
There it is. Humans.
And so, you guys, he just gave y'all the roadmap. This is how he became Teacher of the Year. So take notes. I hope y'all, you might have to rewind and make sure you catch all of that. These are like golden. Since
Appreciate it.
receiving Teacher of the Year, and congratulations on that, by the way. This has been a
Thank you. Thank
remarkable
you.
journey for you. How has that award influenced your career and your teaching approach?
As my career, it's like now I'm looked at as a specialist, right? And so been able to give me, a couple of opportunities to present my knowledge. And I remember I've had the opportunity to do a PD session in my district about setting up classroom culture. I've been also given the opportunity to do a breakout session at, for the Colorado Department of Education when they had one of their conferences. I was able to do a breakout session there. I've been given an opportunity to be a guest conductor and clinician at one of the other districts in Colorado Springs. So I just did that in March. That was so much fun to work with these other middle schoolers and, really just build them up and have fun with them. So as far as my teaching approach, I think it made me a little more intentional about what I do, specifically the way I plan. think I had to be a little more strategic because during my Teacher of the Year reign, I was gone a lot. I had to miss a few days here. I had to miss a week here. Just because I'm doing Teacher of the Year, the educational world don't stop, and I didn't get, I wasn't granted time off to do my Teacher of the Year stuff. I still had to work.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I had to be way more strategic and I had to be way more intentional about what I do. And so we teach students how to act for us while we're in the classroom. Well, let's take it a step further. I had to teach them how to act when I wasn't here. And
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
we teach them all these procedures. And I tell them at the beginning of the school year, the reason why you're learning all these procedures and routines and stuff is not only to know how to act when I'm here, but if I'm not here, you can run the class without even me being here. And so I had to kind of really shine a light on that part during my Teacher of the Year. And even when like a few days prior or a week prior, we run the play. I tell them what's expected on that day, the things they have to do, and we run the play so I can condition them so it won't be new to them when they're there, when that substitute teacher have to run that class for a week or for a couple of days. And because of that, I'm always getting, oh, your students were so good. Your students were great. Because, hey, I'm the Teacher of the Year. I can't be going off doing this stuff and then my kids sitting up here running the subway because they don't know how to act. I had to make sure that I really had to strategically plan. Like with my sixth graders, it was like 2 or 3 days before I left because I was going to be gone for a couple of days. I said, the way we're going to do this, you're going to have, and this is when I got to the point where I trusted them to play their instruments when I wasn't there. And so we ran the play. Okay, you're going to do 10 minutes of individual practice in the practice room because I had practice rooms in there. And then after that, you're going to come out and then you're going to do your Chromebook activity. Now, we didn't do the Chromebook activity, but I wanted them to just get used to being in that practice room, practicing by themselves for 10 minutes. I had to condition them to do that. I had to condition their brain, their attention span to be able to be in there because if I didn't, no telling what would have happened. They probably would have been in their practice room, fooling around, playing around, doing what, anything you can imagine. But I had to intentionally condition them to be able to do what I needed them to do when I wasn't away. So that is the biggest thing that I took from being Teacher of the Year. It was like, okay, you're Teacher of the Year. Now you got to show why. And so
Right.
that was one of the ways that I was able to show why I was Teacher of the Year. I just had to change my strategy and in my planning when it came to that.
Yeah. So it sounds like with that award came a responsibility on top of it. Like you are already, kind of building this program up and just breaking down barriers along the way. But now I'm kind of hearing you hint at like there was this spotlight that you were aware of that was on you. So people now know this is Teacher of the Year, this is Teacher of the Year's class, this is Teacher of the
Mm-hmm.
Year's environment. It's almost like you step in certain rooms and you just kind of there's just these eyes kind of always on you. So being hyper aware of that, which I feel like,
Hmm.
may add some natural stress, right? Because now it's like a different kind of, I can't just lay low, especially in my school district. But you're so modest. You like, yeah, I did some workshops. I was at a conference, but you were also invited to the White House. Like I don't think people realize that when you win something like that or earn something like that, like
Yeah.
totally using the wrong words, but when you are teacher of the year, right? You're in that kind of role.
Hmm.
There are so many different kind of things that come with that, and so I'm I didn't even think about the time away that you had to deal with and try to
Hmm.
balance being a teacher in the classroom, but also being away from that classroom and all of the things that came with that. But it's been an
Yeah.
exciting journey, right? Like,
Oh, yes, it's been an exciting journey. Just like you said, I was able to go to the White House and meet Joe Biden and meet Dr. Jill Biden, and it was a great experience. Got to walk. They had a little event for us in the Rose Garden, and we got to walk on the first floor of the White House. It was really fun. Got to go to space camp,
yep.
and
That's what I was like. That's
yeah,
another one I've definitely.
yeah, yeah. So that was fun too. We had a chance to, because space camp is set up for children. And that's the first thing they say. Look, y'all, this camp is set up for children. So don't overthink it. Get out your teacher mind. Get
Yeah.
out your teacher mind. Don't overthink everything.
Mhm.
And so, but we had a good time there. Forged a lot of close bonds there.
Mhm.
I was able to go to New Jersey. We had a um, event out there, conference out there. I was able to do a 15-minute mini presentation on effective instruction strategies that I use in my classroom. And then we capped it by going to the NCAA football
Yes.
championship in Houston
Yes.
in January. And it was so great because the Wolverines went and they won. So I was like, yes, the home team, baby. So
Right.
yeah, so it was, yeah, so it was great. It was great. I've met some great people, other state teacher of the years throughout the nation, and there were some really good people, and I just really enjoyed it. It was busy. It was busy. I've gotten a chance to do many interviews. Been on the news.
Yes.
Was on a mini podcast interview, including this one. You see, the ride ain't over. The ride isn't over. They
Not.
say,
It's
yeah, your
not.
brain things are still, they still come up with little interviews here and there, and getting presented with awards and stuff like that for becoming teacher of the year. Carrying this title of being the first Black male teacher to get it, as
Right.
well as the
Yes.
first elective teacher to get it, like elective, like gym, music,
Mhm.
choir, yeah, like the first one in the state. Like, that has really brought a lot of attention my way. But also been able to just share my story through keynotes and on panels. It's been fun. It has been a lot of fun. But like I said, the ride isn't over yet. Ride isn't over, and I hope it's never over.
I
I can
think
get used to
so.
all the attention.
I think it's growing, like it's just evolving. Having so many doors open up, having so much show up in your path and add to your repertoire. How do you maintain a healthy balance, like work life balance? I feel like your career is demanding, but it's also
Hmm.
growing. How you keep that balance?
Um, Thinking of self. I make sure I take care of myself, because if I don't, then I can enjoy all the stuff that I'm doing. And
Yeah.
I get it. We are on the grind because we're ambitious. We're trying to get to this level, but it's never anything wrong with just stopping to just take a beat and just making sure that you're good, doing some things that makes you happy, be in your happy place. Shoot, another thing I do is make sure I get my annual checkup from the doctor too. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta, yeah, so I gotta make sure that I'm good. I gotta make sure I'm good, because I have to understand, I have to think big, I have to think outside of me. It's not just about me. I have a family. I have a
Mhm.
family. So I can't let the stresses of my job and then trying to, maintain my teacher of the year status, I can't let that control my life. That's
Right.
a part of my life.
Yes.
It's a part of my life, but there's certain way that it's going to be able to be in my life. And sometimes if I have to take a break from it, it's cool. That
Mhm.
I'm not over I'm okay with saying no sometimes. If I can't do it, I can't do it. You know, and I know what's really helped as far as me thinking about me. You know, if I'm healthy, then I'm a happier person to my family.
Yes.
I've been that person where I've been at work trying to, you know, I just say keep up with the Joneses, right? You know, because you know, when I worked in Memphis, you know, we was heavy into marching band in Memphis. I had a middle school
Yes.
marching band, and
Competitive.
so I'm busy trying to make a name. I'm trying to, you know, folks got to know who Jimmy Day is out here in Memphis. They got to know who American Way Middle School band. So I'm just putting all this energy into it, and then I'm getting angry at work because stuff ain't going my way, and I'm bringing it home because I'm not releasing it, and I'm just this mean person to my family, which caused me and my wife to split for a little bit. And, you know, I had to learn that I cannot let that take over my life. So I have to make sure I take care of myself. I got to make sure if there's something wrong with me, I have to learn how to get it off my chest and cap it so I won't bring it home. I have to understand my if my nerves are fried from being at work, it is nobody in my house's fault. It's not their fault. So I
Yeah.
had to learn how to just navigate all of that energy. So not only am I taking care of myself, but I'm also being that happy pop and that happy husband to my family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but the way the biggest thing comes under the umbrella of just taking care of yourself.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I feel like I could go in so many directions. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to go in right there because that one was like you said some things that hit really home, and I want people to like have a really good walk away with that because that was good. That was really good. Um, there are things you're aware of when it comes to you, right? Making sure you're good, and there are things you're not aware of. And one of the things you said that I was like, oh wow, like that was super important was unplugging and not even like wait until something's wrong and I could feel it to unplug, but just giving yourself an opportunity to unplug because sometimes you don't know, especially
Mm-hmm.
I know for any ambitious person they can probably relate to this, right? To where like when you're in that mode, when you're just in motion, there
Mm-hmm.
is no stop. You're just going and
Mm-hmm.
you feel kind of motivated to keep going because maybe
Right.
you kind of see the goal and you like I just got to get at that and one of the things I teach about is like there are several domains to kind of having this balance, and
Mm-hmm.
one of them that you're speaking about is work, but we also have family. You spoke about that too. We have
Mm-hmm.
health. You spoke about that too, right? We have community. These are our hobbies, our activities, just things that
Mm-hmm.
just let us be us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their spirituality, right? There's this foundational piece that allows us to connect with our world in a way that is beyond us and what we want and
Mm-hmm.
what we care about. It's like it grounds us. So I say that to say I was in a recent podcast and we were talking about how you have to have priorities with all of the
Mm-hmm.
things, all the hats you're wearing, all of the things you're doing, and it's not to
Mm-hmm.
say that the other things don't have to have priority, but you're intentional about making sure you give each of those things their
Mm-hmm.
time and that commitment and not trying to say, well, they're all there and so they're all getting something to me because when you kind of treat it like that, everything is probably suffering a little bit or there are some things that's
Mm-hmm.
suffering a lot because there's always something getting more of your attention. So if you're not intentional about making sure you're like, okay, when I'm in work mode, yeah, I'm in work mode. When I'm in, parent mode, yep, I'm in parent mode. When I'm in
Mm-hmm.
chill mode and play mode, I'm in play mode. I'm in chill mode, right?
Right.
Just
Right.
being okay with like I can take off some of these other hats and be over here and get back to this and it's okay, right? Like I can do all of that.
Yes.
So I love how you just explain, just making sure you're good, making sure you're happy and how what's going on inside comes out, even if you didn't want it to. You like
Mm-hmm.
you either voluntarily, take care
Right.
of yourself, or involuntarily. It's coming out though. So
You're right.
that was huge. You've had such a magical journey. I love how you talk about just some of the well, a lot of the growth in your journey. You talk about there were times where you worked really hard and it was just kind of like beating the beating the path in the sense like I'm just gonna keep going. And then there was times where things just naturally blossomed for you, and you just was like, okay, this obviously to me, I would say this obviously was meant for you because how it showed up in your life and how easy it was, right? Like you had already
Mm-hmm.
built the skills, you already done the work, you already had a life experience, and then here you are with this opportunity in life to just use it, and then the rewards come, right? So,
Right.
what advice would you give to others striving for balance in their professional ambitions and their personal well being?
Stay motivated. Just stay motivated. You're going to, and understand it's not going to be an easy road. So, whatever you need to do to stay motivated, do it. Like I said earlier, learn from your setbacks, learn from them. Don't take it as a failure, take it as a learning experience so you can be able to move 5 steps up after you got knocked 3 steps back. Like another thing is just like I just said, take care of yourself while you're doing it. That is my advice. Just stay motivated and claim it and know this is for you, but at the same time, continue to take care of yourself.
Like that. There's a delicate balance between working too hard and not working enough. When I hear you say stay motivated, it's like we set goals, right? We're like, okay, that I want to, as a young person, maybe I want to graduate from high school and then go to
Mm.
college, and then you reach those goals, and then you don't stop. You just set new goals. You're like, okay,
Right.
I want to have a family. I want to get a good job. I want to, do this. Okay, work on those goals, reach those goals.
Hmm.
Sometimes we take a different plan. We realize maybe this goal isn't for me. I want to do something a little different. That's
Right.
fine too. But
Hmm.
that stay motivated thing is just keep setting new goals. There is no finish line. You do not hit a point
Right.
in life where you could just say, I'm done. I'm just gonna chill it out. Like even in the chill it out, you're gonna need to set a new goal.
Yeah.
So just stay motivated. I think that's huge for just, keeping your mind active, keeping your body active.
Hmm.
There is a point where you're living life, and then there's a point where you're existing, and part of that living life thing is we still working towards something at all times, and that's part of the
Hmm.
human experience. So if you guys are like, I reached all my goals, what next? Set some new goals. It's
Yep.
some opportunities out there.
Hmm.
Jimmy, can you tell the people how they can get in touch with you, where they can find you, all of the good stuff?
So, I mean, any questions or if you want to follow up, you can always email me at jlday@aurorak12.org. That is my email. That is my main email that I'm always on. So you can hit me up that way. I'm on Twitter, or we call it X now. I'm on Twitter at Jimmy L Day, so you can catch me there. You can catch me on Facebook at The Maestro. So I'll be laying content out there, the things that I do in my class with my students and stuff. And you can catch me on LinkedIn. You can catch me Jimmy Day, simple Jimmy Day on LinkedIn. So that's how you can hit me in. I have a milkshake website, so you can go to msha.ke/Jimmy L Day. So all of my stuff that I did through Teacher of the Year, if you want to get more into it, my interviews and pictures and stuff and everything that I've experienced in my Teacher of the Year stint, you can catch it at that website.
Thank you so much. I hope you guys are able to keep up with Jimmy. He has navigated an incredible path that I feel like lays out some groundwork for. We always talk about our ancestors and what they did, and they did. They definitely did. But we
Mm-hmm.
also have our current greats that are laying out just the groundwork for the future generations. And so keep up and, just check in and see what's going on. I really want to thank you again for being here. Thank our listeners for checking out this episode. Like I said, make sure you're subscribed. There's always new things happening in this podcast, new content, new just information. And do me one more favor, share this with somebody because there's always somebody that can benefit from this. That maybe this is going to touch in a special way. This is real life stuff. So don't forget to comment, give your feedback, and we will see y'all next time. Bye.
Thank you for having me.